Hardy har! It's me again, your friend, the Bargain Pirate, and welcome to an all new adventures in game chasing yards. So for today's episode, we're gonna go back in time to when I opened that box from Tepa Game, and also back in time to when I opened the other box from my friend Cedric from Retour vers le Retro, where Tepa Game sent me a whole stack of Nintendo powers, and Cedric sent me something a little special that isn't a game, but is game adjacent, yes! So give a hoot and read a book, but make sure that book is Nintendo Power! Let's start with this one, Volume 28. But apparently it's got somebody's address. I'm not gonna dox somebody from 30 years ago, but this looks like it's from early 1991. Right before the Super Nintendo was gonna come out. Some of the pages are sticking together a little bit. I don't know what to say about that. But look at this. You've got the letters. You've got your Super Mario World preview. This is awesome. Pretty cool. Wow, welcome to Dinosaur Island. This is the first time that kids would see this. This was before the game came out, so this is pretty impressive. Pretty cool, pretty cool. You got some more stuff here. That's awesome. It's a huge preview. Then you got your Star Wars, which is, I think, Super Star Wars? No, this is Star Wars for the NES. Okay. Smash TV, another great game, and a bunch of other stuff. Then you got your classified informations, Worm, Center of the Earth, Super Nintendo previews, like the new Castlevania. Ooh, that's awesome. And look at these screens. They look like they were taken with pictures onto like the TV screen, like back in the day. What did you do, right? So this is cool. A preview of Castlevania 4. I think they were just calling it Castlevania 4 at that time. Yep, they were calling it just Castlevania 4, not Super Castlevania 4, which makes a lot less sense. But yeah, they were calling this Castlevania 4, and SimCity, which was also one of the launch titles. Final Fight was also up there at the beginning of the Super Nintendo. So you had your Final Fight here. That's pretty cool. Ooh, the Player's Poll, where you could answer things and get some game packs. That's how we called cartridges at the time in the US and in some places in Canada. We called these game packs. We decided that now we call them cartridges or cassettes. Some people call them tapes, Nintendo tapes. Where'd you get your Nintendo tapes? That's where they call them, so yeah. Actually, pretty impressive issue of Nintendo Power. I think this is an important issue. It's the preview of Super Mario World. So it's the first time, one of the first times we've seen this game out in the wild, out in a boot. So yeah, Super Mario World. So after Volume 28, naturally, we go to Volume 29, which is a special on the first Star Trek game. That's pretty cool. We're going to skim through this, because we got a bunch here. It's going to be really long if I show everything. But this one's about the first Star Trek game, which is a kind of adventure game that's based on some of the actual episodes. So that's pretty cool. It tells you it's pretty much like a way to play all of Star Trek for the NES. Some NES and SNES releases. There's no release dates. That's one thing that's really hard to figure out, is the exact release dates of some of these games. Sometimes they would release and that would be that. But then you just sort of have to figure out when these games are released, but whatever. It's all good. Here we have something weird. Back in the day, Nintendo Power would have some volumes that would be the guide themselves, but would also count as an issue. So this is issue 15 of Nintendo Power, but it's also the strategy guide of Ninja Gaiden 2. So yeah, it's both the strategy guide of Ninja Gaiden 2 and Nintendo Power number 15. It's not in shiny paper. You can't see it, but the paper here is matte. I guess it's because they had a lot of color photos to print in this one, since it's all strategy guide. So that's pretty cool. If you have any trouble with Ninja Gaiden 2, Nintendo Power 15, it's got you. Now we're skipping ahead a bit to see Super Mario Kart number 41. Super NES, Bart's Nightmare, a bunch of stuff like that. We're gonna skim through it. Oh, this is when we had the the Legend of Zelda comic book here. There was a Mario comic, but then there was a Legend of Zelda. It's a manga, technically, but that was pretty cool. Some cool memories here. That's awesome. Then you have the Bart's Nightmare. Somehow somebody made a walkthrough of this game, which is just like a big mess of everything. Then you have Super Mario Kart. That's awesome. Some cool stuff here. Awesome. Volume 23, back in time for Power Blade. Cool stuff, cool beans. Anything that stands out? Ooh, special feature on the Game Boy. Back when the Game Boy was starting to gain some traction. Yeah, we got a bunch of Game Boy reviews here. That's pretty cool for this issue. Sweet. The 4-player extra guide. This is cool. It's volume 19. So again, like the Ninja Gaiden one, it's Yeah, and this one's all about games that you can play with 4 players. So you would have the NES Multi-Tap, I think it's called. And you would play all these games like World Cup and Sword and Serpents, Super Spike V-Ball, Super Off-Road. Okay, yeah, so 4-player games like that. I think this is my oldest issue of Nintendo Power, Mega Man 2. I think this is issue 7. Let me check. Nintendo Power, so it says July-August 1989. So yeah, it's one of the earlier issues. And this one is about Mega Man 2. Look at all this cool off-brand Mega Man art in here. That's pretty cool. DuckTales, ooh, that's awesome. It's pretty cool. It's one of my favorite games. Michael Dorn, who plays Worf on Star Trek The Next Generation. Awesome. Volume 43 of Nintendo Power. This is awesome. So this one is, of course, with Roadrunner, Death Valley Rally, and it also talks about the NES Batman Returns. So this is Super Nintendo had that new price drop to compete better with the Sega Genesis. So yeah, we got the Batman Returns video game for NES, the version. I haven't played that one, but apparently it's okay. It's not the worst. James Bond Jr. for the Super Nintendo. The only James Bond game for Super Nintendo. Tecmo Basketball, Caesar's Palace, Super Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins. A great game, and the introduction of Wario as the final boss of the game. I think we might have... Oh, there we go. So see, it's the introduction of Wario, Volume 40, Felix the Cat for the NES, which is a very rare game. It's a pretty good game. It's kind of rare. Ooh, speaking of rare games, here's just a random little Samson walkthrough. How much is that game now? Like 2,500? 3,000? Overpriced, and I can never have an actual copy in my lifetime? Yeah, that sounds about right. Good God. Ooh. Is this still available? Can I hang out with Will Smith, the Fresh Prince, and DJ Jazzy Jeff? Can I? Can I pretty please? Mario Paint. So this one is about a preview or a review of Mario Paint. Ooh, Gargoyle's Quest 2, Casino Kid 2, Contra Force. Oof, that's a deep cut. This is Contra 2.5. It's not Contra 3, but it's not Contra 1 or 2. It's a game that has nothing to do with Contra that's been rebranded as a Contra game in the US, because, you know, branding. I'm gonna blaze through the next ones because we got a lot still before we get to the end of this, so I'm gonna blaze through a couple of them. So this one is issue 37 with the Lemmings. That's pretty cool. Then let's get dangerous with issue 36 with Darkwing Duck. Awesome. And then issue 35 with Hulk Hogan giving the mighty leg drop, brother. Looks pretty cool. I love these photo covers. I love when this looks like a legitimate magazine. It doesn't look like fan art on the cover. This looks really cool. And then a little further in time with issue 45, Pugly's Scavenger Hunt, which also has the new Star Fox comic. So yeah, there was also a Star Fox comic. Star Fox looks pretty pissed at Falco. This is like, what the hell is this? Volume 44, The Magical Quest starring Mickey Mouse. Awesome. This one's a little bit on the beat-up side, but that's okay. I got all of these at a really good price. Then we got a little bit of a taste of the most badass crossover in all of video gaming, Battletoads and Double Dragon, the Ultimate Team, Yar! Awesome. Kinda good game, Tiny Toon Adventures, Buster Bust Loose. And finally, we're nearing the end, finally, where we have number 32, Super Castlevania 4, now with the Super name. New comics and more. Nice. Simon's monstrous new quest, because this game had it all. This game had a lot of content. 100 issues later, issue 132 with Hybrid Heaven, a sci-fi thriller. Phantom Menace, like we're all into the Nintendo 64 days now. We really skipped a bunch of stuff. That's pretty badass. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, The Manhattan Project, and this is issue 33. Awesome. This is pretty badass. This one has a little bit of scuffing here, but it doesn't matter, because look at that cover. But you see what I mean when I said it looked a bit fan art? It looks, hey, look at those prices. $3.50 US, and Canada $4.50. Like, this was $5. Hey, here's a $5, buy a magazine. Boom, boom, boom. Then again, the minimum wage was a lot less back in the day, but still, $5 for a magazine, those were the days. Now we get to a really interesting one. Metroid, or rather Metroid 2 Samus Returns, which was for the Game Boy. This was a, back when it was, I think the project was just called Metroid. Oh, ActRaiser, nice. Adam's Family. But yeah, okay, no, they're really calling it Return of Samus. Cool. So they're actually like gonna go full on into this. So yeah, this was a huge feature on Metroid 2. So somewhat of a walkthrough. That's pretty cool. And then you have Ninja Gaiden Shadow, which I think is the Game Boy one. Yeah. And a bunch of other stuff, but yeah, Metroid. Look at that badass cover. This is what we had when I was a kid. So let's start with the strategy guide I got from Tepa Game. I got Siren from the game Siren, which is of course a horror game in the vein of the Silent Hills from the same creators, and it's a really scary game, but it's very chopped up into smaller vignettes. So to have a strategy guide actually helps a lot, because all the strategy guides online are pretty much with text. Some of them have pictures, some of them are YouTube videos, but having things like this with like ideas of what to do, where to go, that actually would help a lot. So I might play the game with this to be able to go beyond, because the game's kind of scary. So yes, I've got the strategy guide for Siren. And finally, the pièce de résistance for today, which is from Cédric from Retour vers le Rétro. I got the strategy guide for Super Metroid from Nintendo Power, which was at the time where they were now like not part of the actual Nintendo Power volume count. So this isn't like volume 60 or whatever. This is its own like side book. Now the Nintendo Power Player's Guide were not part of the official volume count for these magazines. So here we go with Super Metroid's wonderful, cool, badass strategy guide. A cool bunch of things. Like look at these, like full maps, full color, all these nice little drawings that are official, semi-official. I think all of these are from like key arts and stuff. I think these all have that's what's cool when there was like a first-party Nintendo game. You had access to all of these things. So yeah, so the areas and stuff. This is really cool. Lots of cool little things here. Yeah, this is pretty badass. I'm really happy with this one. Amazing stuff. Super Metroid for the Super Nintendo. The strategy guide. Awesome. More Nintendo Power strategy guides for one of my favorite games. This is just the best feeling in the world. Growing my collection and extending beyond games, but into the literary world. Where, well, let's not kid ourselves, it's Nintendo Power, so there's only so much you can read, but it's going to be awesome, and it's going to give you all the superpower you need to beat all those games. Because now I'm playing with Nintendo Power. Alright. Anyways, that was it for this episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it, and I'll see you next week, where my collection grows even bigger. So leave a like and subscribe, and come back next week for an all-new adventure in game chasing, yar.